as well. And Norman, listening, 1, 2, 3, 4. Norman, listening, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, let's go. Thank you very much. You're listening to Flame Radio on 1521 medium wave and online and on DAB in Greater Manchester. My name is John Cheek. Our guest here is Joshua Francis, or to give him his stage name, Sir Joshua Francis. Joshua, in 2 minutes, can you begin by quickly telling us all about yourself?
I haven't always been Joshua Francis. My name used to be Mark Mulcahy, but Mark Mulcahy died in 2012, and somebody else came back. I spent the first 39 years of my life an utter fool. I drank myself into oblivion because boo-hoo, life was too difficult. And I woke up in hospital in July of 2012. An enormous, bloated, bright yellow, bald wreck of a human being with no liver left. My legs didn't work. And everybody still thought I was going to die, except I didn't. Okay. Because I had the feeling that I had been monumentally chided, and I was to go back and do it properly. And okay, there wasn't anything else to do. I was too ill to move, so and I'd already decided that resuming my previous lifestyle would, it rendered me thus. It'd do it again, and. I don't know if you've ever been nailed to a bed for a month, but it's terribly tedious, and eventually even a fool like me was worn down by tedium to picking up a copy of the small Gideon Bible at my bedside in the hospital, and I was somewhat amazed to learn that the good Lord had relieved me of a 25-year eyeglass prescription in order to read the small print of said tiny tome. And I did, starting an act, as indolence had rendered me thus, perhaps the opposite was necessary, and I began what has been the most exciting ride of my life from sickbed.
Okay.
Now, it doesn't mean I was Christian immediately. It meant that God helped me quit drinking. It was very, very simple. It was like, how long do you want to live on that? Yes. But what I didn't realise was why I wanted to live at the time. I wanted to live to serve Him, but I just didn't know it yet.
Okay.
I just knew that I needed to live. I think He gives us things incrementally for as much as we can take. I was very injured. Message was, get out of there. And I did. And then, because I had seen that serious flaw in my thinking, in my cognitive behaviour, I was able to identify, from that standpoint, lots and lots of other holes that I had fallen down over the course of my 39 years of being alive. And there we go.
Okay.
We went into Operation Physician Heal Thyself.
Okay.
His will be done.
Joshua, you mentioned going back again. Well, let's go back first of all and go right back to your very beginning. And like me, you're a bit of an Essex boy.
Yes. In fact, when I met Terry Waite last year, he gave me a...
This was 2016.
Yeah. He gave... Yes. Can't help it. He... because... I didn't just wind up in hospital because of the drinking. Somebody made a terrible mistake with my prescription, and I was given 8 times too many, and I was locked up like a prisoner in my own head for about 6 years. 6 to 8 years, I can't quite recall. Nothing, can't remember. And Terry Waite seemed to think that was quite similar to him being locked up in prison for no reason.
In Lebanon.
Yeah, I was about as guilty as him, really. And... his middle name, appropriately enough, is Hardy, and he accused me of being thus was surviving, and he kind of joked, gave it to me as my middle name, but we decided to drop the H on account of H's don't exist in Harlow.
Not in Arlo.
No, not in Harlow, no.
And
So-
what was it like growing up in Arlo in Essex?
Well, it was great. I knew nothing else. You only ever grow up where you grow up. I think in retrospect it was fascinating because there was all of the enthusiasm of a new town, but there was also the roots of where that town came from, and the reason for new towns is that various places in London and various other metropolitan areas were bombed, very badly in the Second World War, and the
That's
people
right.
needed to be rehoused. In fact, they were owed it. They had gone out and they had fought this war for what? What did my granddad nearly get himself killed so many times for? A
To resist the
house.
Nazis.
And somewhere to live afterwards. There had to be an incentive, hence the baby boom, and it was a baby boom town.
Yeah,
And-
like Basildon or...
Yeah, but the catchment area was South East London. So you get a lot of people that you don't realise that such and such's dad that you used to go around when you were playing with your mates was maybe a member of a firm of some kind in the 60s, because you watch those films, their ambition is to get ass. Where do you think that house is? It's in Arlo. It's so it was a fascinating place to grow up, a mixture of enthusiasm and a little world weariness. And unfortunately, that kind of declined as I was growing up. The enthusiasm went out of it.
And Joshua, whilst you were growing up in post-war Arlo, where was God in this? Where was the church in all of this?
Well,
Anywhere?
I was brought up, yeah. I've always been absolutely terrified of God, unless I was blind drunk and didn't care. It's one of the reasons you get blind drunk for 22 years. Not scary in like a creepy way, but just unbelievably in awe. I have always had that. And as hard as I have tried to ignore it, it doesn't work. So, I was my name was Mulcahy, so I'm from Irish Catholic descent.
Mhm.
And I went to a Catholic church, Holy Cross, in Harlow, and later St Thomas More's. And I was an altar boy. And I remember
Ooh.
Father Donegan, who was a very rambunctious fellow.
I don't know what that means.
It means he was, he had a red nose for a reason, and he used to sneak off and watch hurling games. But he was a lovely, wonderful man, and he never short of dinner invitations. Very, very good storyteller. He used to tuck me in at night and say my prayers and everything. And he told me when I was about 11 or something that you should become a priest, and I thought no, I want to get married and have a family and all that. And it turns out that I've been married more than once, but I've not had a family, and I'm very grateful for that now, because it gives me the freedom to do what I do, and not have to worry about money, because it's only myself and Samantha to feed.
And as you were growing up, though, you discovered more and more of that sort of freedom, and perhaps maybe this sense of awe of God began to wane, and the freedoms of turning 18 or 21.
Yeah, I
began
was
to take
really
over.
well behaved up until I was 18, and I'd done my A-levels, and I did history and sociology, and RA.
Very good.
And I tell you the truth, I'm not proud of this at all. I was actually drunk when I took my A-level RE exam. I went to the pub at lunchtime and drank 6 pints, and I had to get up and go to the toilet. It was really embarrassing, but I still passed. But that's kind of how much respect I had for it by the time I was 18. And then I got out of school, sort of discovered beer and girls at the same time, and then just went on a bender for 22 years. Wives came and went, and scenarios changed, and houses changed, but I, if I'm honest, did not want to be here. I could not see my place here.
In this world.
Yeah. until I sort of left it and come back but God gave me another name. I did not invent Joshua Francis. I was sitting in bed shortly after I met Samantha. I was eating my dinner in bed, and because I haven't been, I wasn't very well, and all of a sudden God said, "Your name is Joshua Francis," and I went, "Wah!" And threw the dinner all up. I didn't know what that meant. I figured Francis was the Pope, but when you look into why Joshua was called Joshua, he was called Joshua to keep him safe. His real name wasn't Joshua either.
Was it though?
No. And Jesus' name is Joshua.
Yes. Yeah.
It's Yehoshua. There is no J in Hebrew. There is. It's YEHO. So Jesus is a Greek name. So that stuff like that just happens. Sometimes I know stuff that I shouldn't know. Sometimes, in advance, like someone's died or something, and oh great, not again. But I just sort of accept it.
With all of this wine, women, and song, Joshua, were you trying to, in effect, turn your back on the world, keep the world at bay?
Yeah.
Were you trying to hide from the realities of this world?
Yeah.
You kept it up for a long time.
Yes, but because dealing with it was unthinkable.
Because if you dealt with it, you might have to face up to the truth of it, and you might have to change as a result. Yeah, it's cognitive dissonance, isn't it? No one wants to think, because if you get a reference point, I'm defective in this area, I'm wanting, I'm faulty, I'm deficient. I'm afraid if you take that template, like it was a code-breaking template or something, and you lay it over any other set of circumstances, they're just interchangeable. Everything must go. You cannot just... Those rules apply to absolutely everything. And so there was a massive amount of changing that I needed to do, but before I realised what I was going to do, but I didn't know it at the time. It's only sort of 4 years after that things... You notice that there's been a change and a pattern, and although you've made apparently huge progress in a very short space of time, God really didn't give me any more than I could handle at any one specific time. And of course, He gave me Samantha, and Samantha has been of inestimable help. She's been a teacher, and she takes care of me because I'm the only willfully innocent man I know. I will not on purpose do anything to offend God, and I don't care who else I offend, as long as I don't offend Him. And that gets me hurt. And the reason I drank, I think, is because I'm an acutely sensitive human being. I'm a songwriter. I'm a walking wound, right? Otherwise I wouldn't notice stuff and write it down. Do you think this is fun? And during that 22-year bender, music was very much a part of things as well. Yeah, but not as serious as now, because I didn't know I had the depth. Yes, you could tell a story, and you could still tell it as good as anybody else, and you could still strum along as good as anybody else. You could still carry it. But as for the gravitas, the point of it all, other than just to be a rock and roll singer or to call yourself a songwriter, where is the gravity? And the ultimate gravity is God, because He invented all physical things, and all of a sudden, once you start walking a line, as you'll probably draw in the Johnny Cash comparisons later, everything starts to make sense, and you follow. I am the way, the truth, and not me. I am the way, the truth, and that's the way. The road is narrow, but the payload is enormous. It's worth it. Josh, you mentioned the country star Johnny Cash, and he lived quite a remarkable life. And to cut a long story short, his life started off quite holy. He then went down the route of temptation. Then many years later, I believe, he became so miserable with his life that he actually took himself off into the desert in America somewhere and actually went into a cave.
Yes, he did.
Miles into a cave, and he was just going to sit there and lie there until he died.
Crawl up and die. Yeah.
Until he heard the voice of God. Now, in your case, there weren't any deserts, no physical deserts anyway.
I think emotionally I'd been in one for. I think
An emotional desert.
like a barren wasteland of insignificant, selfish nonsense.
And this all
Snap
came,
to, you know, and,
this
and
all
then
came,
you're awake.
This all came to a head, or maybe more than one head.
You try drinking 2 bottles of vodka and think your way out of a paper bag. It's not going to happen.
So it came to a head a few years ago.
5, yeah.
What happened?
Well, I mean, I was very large, and I began to turn yellow, and a really unfortunate hue, hepatitis yellow, for those of you with colour charts, and my solution to this, my medical cure, was to quit looking in the mirror, and that lasted about 2 months. And then the doctor was actually ringing me up going, you have hepatitis, you have alcoholic hepatitis. Would you come in? And I'll do it tomorrow. I will. And I absolutely intended to. But right now, what I need is a massive drink because my hands are going like this because it's 10 o'clock in the morning and the doctor can go hang himself. You really don't care. You're a drug addict, for God's sakes. It's awful. It's not fun anymore. You've got your job is to pour as much booze into yourself as humanly possible before you get sick. If you don't, all your organs will go at the same time. Where's my medicine? They won't take it in turns or anything, and you will just... But in the end, I drank so much that I had hepatitis in my head, and my brain swelled up, and it was pressing on the inside of my skull in all directions, causing colossal brain damage, because I need Danone. And my liver failed. So I was very, very fortunate. I'd done a nice thing, and I think that saved my life. My friend Paul had, this was in Camberley, he'd...
London, yeah.
No, sorry. Camberwell's in there.
Oh, yeah.
He didn't have anywhere to live, and he needed to save up for a deposit. So I let him stay on my couch for nothing for 6 months while he saved up and he got a deposit so that he could get somewhere to live. And it didn't bother me because he was out at work most of the time, and then we went to the pub in the evenings anyway. And one day it came home at lunchtime, and because it had rained. I'm alive because it rained. He was a bricklayer, he came home. You can't lay bricks in the rain.
Yeah.
And he come home, and there's me bright yellow, and I haven't had a drink in days because I'm too ill, but I have lost my mind. I've gone. There's infections everywhere. I'm gonna die. And he calls the ambulance. And
Good.
The next thing I remember is the sound of the wheels of the gurney on the gravel outside, and that would have been the last sound I ever heard. Wishes heartily, I love you, or well done, or, you have run the good race. No, some gravel on the ground. That would have been the last thing. I went back and I got some of that gravel, so I can shake it for people sometimes, but I don't really think it's necessary. Imagine gravel shaking, there you go, it's done. Yeah, Paul saved Paul. And I was in a coma for 11 days, and they told my folks, we're going to turn him off. That brain is dead. It's 20 to 1 on the night for the liver alone, 20 to 1. That's 95% against it. I don't pay no attention to it anymore. That, and I was certainly brain dead, so would they turn me off? My mum said, well, not just yet, because you did poison him with this over-prescription. It's not entirely his fault. And so they agreed to sort of see whether I'd come out of it or not. And I did, 11 days later. And I was besieged with clipboards, and I realised almost immediately, for some bizarre reason, it was a cognitive test. And I just said, I think, therefore I am. But in Latin, I said, cogito ergo sum, and just come out. And I don't quite know why I came out of a coma and speaking in Latin. But if that was a state of grace, if that was the only incidents of me talking tongues ever. The state of grace did not last very long because I immediately began to talk in English again. And I know it is a gift of the Spirit, but I don't mind not having to speak in tongues one. I've seen it. I think it's marvellous, but I do not have it. And I think the reason that I do not have it is because I'm required to talk in jail to Englishmen in English. Otherwise, they will not understand me.
Joshua, whilst you were in a coma,
Yes.
I take it you remember nothing of that. You didn't have what they might call near-death experiences or anything like that that you can recall. If not,
Yes. I don't remember. I didn't see God. I didn't see Peter at the pearly gates. But I have always had black slime following me in my dreams. Very slow and it's basically my own demons chase me in my dreams. They're my version of the hellhounds at my feet, and they stopped. They stopped that day. Oh, they're never to be heard from again. Also, there was the Filipino nurse that didn't exist. I was really, really thirsty, and this Filipino nurse with a glowing complexion, not actually glowing, but just like really healthy, was dipping cocktail sticks with little square sponges on them and putting them on my tongue. Because I had tubes stuck down my tongue, up my nose, sticking out my arms, my neck, my stomach. I was Count Cannula for a while in there. And he would quench my thirst, and he told me, don't worry, she will come. Met her 3 years ago.
Samantha. Okay.
And he wasn't real. I asked for him because he was kind to me. And he wasn't real. Dirty was, wasn't he? When I was thirsty, did you give me water? When I was hungry, did you feed me? When I was naked, did you clothe me? When I was sick, did you visit me? When I was in prison, did you visit me? It's Matthew 25, ain't it?
I know.
You're in death the lesson. Boy, you're a troubadour. Go and do as you're told. What more do I need? I can't do sick people because I got no immune system. You've probably got a list of ailments. In fact, every time I go out, I could die. Going home with the sweaty men and everything in the jails. But you could catch something and it could... But it won't because I'm doing it for God. I honestly believe that.
When did you come out of hospital, Josh? You're in a coma for 11 days.
Yeah, tail end of August of 2012. But I had to learn to walk first. My legs had died in the coma. They'd atrophied, and I was like 325 pounds, which is kind of 25 stone plus because of the water retention and the bloating and that. So, you know, those great big athlete socks, you know, for people with, or you know, deep vein trombonists in their legs or something, that play the trombone and cause you to have a heart attack. I don't quite know how that works, but yeah, they wouldn't fit because my legs were just, well, my ankles were the size of your thighs.
Really?
But
That was just
black.
your ankles?
Yeah, and I had to learn to walk very quickly, carrying this enormous weight with bags of my own making and cannulas and all sorts sticking in me. And for the second time in my life, I had to learn to walk in front of my dad. That was fun.
How long did it take you?
Well, given that amount of pressure, about 2 minutes. You just, just grin and bear it and hang on. And no, well, considering that I was supposed to be brain dead and then I was supposed to die, and then they put me next to a bloke with pneumonia because they thought I was going to die, so I might as well. And I still didn't die, he did. And I walked out of there 29 days to the day since I went in. They said I'd be in there for 3 months. I said, no, I'll be out within a month. I just knew. They said, you're going to die. I said, I ain't going to die. If God wanted me dead, I'd be dead already. What the hell would he send me back for? To tease me? Go away, you know. So they probably thought I was really bull-headed and stroppy and everything, but I was right. And
by then,
I walked out of there unaided. They said I'd be in there for 3 months. I walked out unaided after 29 days. And their jaws were... I got a round of applause by nurses and that standing by the end of the bed. It was like... Yeah,
miraculous.
Kinda, yeah. Yeah.
And Joshua, I don't mean to upset you or
No, that's right. I'm not proud of myself. You see, that's okay. I'm a penitent. This whole thing is about penitence. But look at me and think, there but for the grace of God go you. I don't want to be like, I'm unworthy of anybody's like applause or admiration or whatever that might be. Look at it and think, it could be worse, I could be him. What do you think I go into jail for? I give them a lecture, disguised, and a confession disguised as lay entertainment, cunningly on my head. Of what not to do, how not to live your life.
And those days after you came out of a coma, those days there in a hospital bed, you had plenty of time to reflect on how badly wrong in life you'd gone.
Yeah, it took much longer because I think we all are to a certain extent, but I think especially if you're sort of a musician and it's all about trends and current thinking or trying to tap in to a current school of psychological, they're forever changing their ideas and that. I had absolutely no understanding of the world that I lived in until I was 39 years old. And at 39 years old, I maintained that I wanted no part of it. And that was okay. I was right all along. It's supposed to be in it, but not of it. Not in it, but out of it.
And you've been out of it an awful lot.
Yeah, I just got it wrong. It's in it, but not of it. Not in it, but out of it. Of course you're supposed to be separate and pull yourself out and think, no, this is rubbish. This is unsatisfying. Where is the water that John talks about that?
Yeah.
That will continue to quench your thirst. Beer ain't doing it. 2 bottles of vodka a day ain't doing it. What is it?
Yeah.
It's God.
That reminds me of my time in life when I was definitely not a Christian, and God appeared to be nowhere in my life.
He's everywhere.
But at the time, I had turned my back on him. In effect, I'd kept God out of my life, and life seemed so empty. The word empty.
Yeah.
The emptiness gnawed away at me.
And how many times did you say to you, it's my life?
Oh, yeah.
It's not, is it?
I want to do it my way.
I did it my way.
And it was the wrong way.
It was, wasn't it?
And you just had to learn that lesson yourself, and you'd really learned it.
I did.
The hard way.
I did, but the more I look, the Bible is for me too. Basically, the call was, hey mate, this means you as well. You do realise that, don't you? Actually, no, I thought I was special and indestructible and immortal, just like every other twit who's ever lived. And he went, no, son, you're not. Anybody can be immortal, you just got to die. Also, anybody can get old. All you've got to do is live long enough. So I decided to do them in that